to the Education Over There podcast. I'm Sheena Hogan. I'm so glad you joined. This is a place where I give practical financial tips that anyone can understand and you can begin to implement now. Season 2 is all about relationships and money. Each week, I will have a guest come onto the show and share with you their journey. My hope is that you will leave this conversation with a new perspective, tip, or strategy that you can implement now. The Education Over Debt podcast is now streaming on Spotify, so be sure to check us out there and become a monthly supporter for as little as 99 cents per month. And if you haven't already, go check out our website at educationoverdebt.com so that you can learn more about the foundation and what we're doing in the community. Our purpose is to provide scholarship monies to students obtaining their bachelor's degree. Today's topic is entrepreneurship and money. Our guest is Mr. Alfonzo Jones. Alfonzo Jones' love for music started in the church, watching and imitating every move and sound of the drummer at the age of 3. Once Alfonso's mother and grandmother grew tired of finding damaged pots and pans, they placed a drum set in front of him, and he began banging away at his future ever since. Throughout his career, Alfonso has worked in several genres and has shared the stage with established artists and musicians. In his production company, Fonzie Productions, he provides services such as studio and live sound engineer, video production, and editing. Please help me welcome to the show, Mr. Alfonzo Jones. Hi, Alfonso. How are you doing today?
I'm well, Sheena. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Our topic is entrepreneurship and money. Could you share with me a little bit about your journey to becoming a full-time musician as an entrepreneur?
Sure. Well, you know, as a kid, I always wanted to play drums professionally, and as I grew up, I realized that took a little bit more than just hopes and dreams to make that happen. A lot of work, a lot of networking. So in that process, I was working 9 to 5. So I worked for a certain corporation for 10 years, and the transition time kind of came out of I was spending money to go to work. I wasn't making enough to cover my travel to work. So that's what kind of pushed me. And I was making more in playing music than I was working a 9 to 5. So I was like, okay, it's time to pull the trigger on this. And then 4 years ago, I walked off the job and have not looked back since.
Oh, wow. And so you say you was making more money playing music than working a 9 to 5. Were you just playing music on the weekends or at weddings, or how did that come about?
It just started off as a regular gig that I had at a business that's no longer up and running right now. It was called Underground Wonder Bar. And then just playing gigs with other people and artists. So I was traveling. So I was taking time off from work to travel. And that's what I felt happier with. When I was working a 9 to 5, I was so depressed clocking in. You be smiling and then you swipe your card to clock in. It's just oh,
yeah,
I'm here.
Okay. And so you took the jump and you started working as a full-time musician. Did you kind of just build those relationships or start working with the people that you had those relationships with? Or, how did you kind of manage getting gigs and doing all that? Or was it just the same people?
Well, it's all word of mouth. So, one person goes, I need a drummer for this, and recommendations happen, and then you get called. So it's just it's the ultimate networking thing. And then also going to jam sessions and meeting people and just keeping your name in your face and people's face and thoughts. So they were like, oh man, I did meet this drummer. And I like the way he played at the jam session. So let me call him for this gig. And that's how that happens.
Okay. So then now we're in 2020. Last year, a lot of stuff got shut down. How did you go about managing or handling everything shutting down, being a musician? How did you go about making money? And did you learn a new skill or anything? Tell me a little bit about 2020.
Okay. So after I crawled out of the fetal position and crying, trying to figure out what's going on in my life. No, basically, as I was working as a musician, I also had a passion for production. So I would be asking sound engineers questions. When I was 11, I used to volunteer at this festival that used to come to around my house every year, and I would volunteer with the sound guys. and they would just pour into me and teach into me. And then like every gig I play, all the sound guys are just like pour knowledge into me, and I get a chance to like work that out too. So during 2020, it allowed me to basically build my home studio and hone my skills as a basically put all the skills that I would learned over the years and just do them. Because as if you're playing, you never get a chance to do the production side of things. So it basically allowed me to pivot to the production side of things and started getting into video and audio recording and editing. And now that's what I'm making my money doing right now.
Okay. And do you also like you say you get into video and auditing and editing. So is that also like with the mixing the tapes and having people record, or do you help with that or not really? Or does that include that?
No, because I have a fully functioning studio in my second bedroom. People are able to come over and basically produce whole records here, and I've had that happen. So very fortunate, and using those relationships that I built playing, and just be like, hey, you want to record? I have this access to you. And that's kind of been my dream, is just basically helping out the community, the music community, by providing affordable services,
Okay. And so with that, what new money habits have you learned or implemented 2020 in 2020? Did you learn anything new? Anything that you felt like you could have did better that 2020 really helped you to see?
So 2020 kind of changed a lot of my habits. So it changed my mentality of how I looked at money, because I realized the more money I spent, the more it would come back. So, for instance, the more I invested in my company, the bigger the return is. Because like with studios, the better equipment you have, the more people are likely to come. So you can charge more. So you're able to do more. So 2020 kind of forced me to kind of out of my I'll call it what it is, a poverty mentality. And because you wanted to just hold on to every single dime and a single penny. But it's like, you got to kind of spend money to make money.
Okay. So 2020 taught you to invest in better equipment. Spend more money to invest in better equipment.
I mean, invest, period. Because like, I had a friend that I met in 2020 that, encouraged me to get into investing in stocks and stuff like that too. So having that nice nest egg to fall back on if I need it. But, thank God that I don't have to tap into that. It's just kind of building,
Oh, so you actually started investing in 2020?
I did, when we got those very nicely stimmy checks, the stimulus checks. I did the weirdest thing. I invested and I didn't spend any of it on like frivolous stuff. So I used my whole stimulus check to build my studio. And so like I knew that $1,200 that came in, I can double, triple it with that investment.
And have you been able to double, triple it?
Like, yes. Let's just say that. Like
Okay.
more than triple.
Okay. All right. So that's good. And so you learned to invest in better equipment so that you can charge a higher price and make a higher net profit, so to speak. Anything else that you learned in regards to savings, or even how to go about spending your money? Like, do you keep a separate account, or do you keep it all in one account, or anything like that?
I keep it all in one account just because like I am not okay. Organization is not my strong suit.
Okay.
So I try to set myself up to where things just kind of automate itself. So like with the stock investing, like that's kind of taking care of itself. Like I check in every now and again, purchase a couple of things that I get tips on, or I see like a trend happening, I'll purchase something. Or like I kind of got into the Bitcoin thing because Bitcoin is kind of really doing some cool things right now. So had to make sure I got into that market too. So it's just diversification.
Diversification. Okay. All right. And so, wow. So you got into diversification. You bought higher equipment. You still keeping everything in one account. So how do you go about like buying your regular stuff like food and paying for bills, and like how do you separate the money, or like is that like, do you still invest more money back into your company? Like, do you still save and invest, or how do you keep that separate out? Is that in a savings account, or like how's that work?
Well, I keep it separate. I keep it everything organized with apps. So I have an app
Okay.
that kind of tracks my spending, and then it allows me to categorize categorize my spending.
What's your app? You got to tell us details so we can know. We're trying to give people tools and tips out here, strategies.
So my main thing is Tax Keeper.
Okay, tax
So
keeper.
yeah, because as a entrepreneur, taxes can make or break you if you do not pay them. So making sure that I keep all of that organized, and in that, and then also Truebill is another one that helps me keep everything organized. So it's kind of like a fail safe. So Tax Keeper kind of keeps my taxes and everything organized and categorized, and then Truebill just tracks my spending and makes sure I'm not doing anything too crazy.
Okay, and
But
then do you use like one of those apps for your receipts and stuff like that too?
well, kind of Truebill kind of keeps track of all that too.
Okay.
So like they make sure like your spending is like documented.
Okay. When I was working as a financial advisor, I actually used to do old school and keep my receipts. Like when I went to the gas station, I would keep my receipts, like the paper receipt in an actual
Hmm.
envelope on the side of my door. So that way at the end of the year, I would add all of it up, and it would take like really not that long, but it would take like an hour or two when really I could have just had an app to do it. But I think the apps came out a little bit later. But yeah, I would add up all my receipts, and then on my calendar, that's where I would track where I would go. So I would have to go out to schools every day. So my calendar is kind of how I kept track of going from one school to another school and all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the year, I would try to calculate the mileage, and it would take me a long time. But I know now they have so many different apps that can help you with tracking mileage,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
you could turn on and off if you're going for business or personal, and keeping your receipts. And so I'm always just amazed to hear like what are some new things or techniques or strategies that people are using.
So I do have a backup for like all of my drum purchases and stuff, just because the company that I use or that I go through for my endorsements, they are still kind of like old school, so they do paper receipts. So I kind of have a drawer of all of my drum purchases that I
Oh,
do through
okay.
that store, just because like it's kind of a backup to like the apps. So like if I get asked how much did I spend this year on equipment, I can I can go to that drawer that I have of receipts, or like if I buy things online, I make sure I star the receipt when it comes to my email, so I have like everything just ready to go when I get there.
Okay, that's good. And then for your taxes, since you mentioned taxes, are you using like a professional, or do you actually doing yourself on TurboTax?
I tried both ways.
Which one is more successful for you?
TurboTax just freaks me the freak out. Because you just want, you're so scared, like, did I do it right? Did I do it right? Am I going to get audited? So like taking it to a tax professional just kind of gives you that peace of mind.
Yeah, yeah. When I first started in the financial services industry, my first year I worked under someone. I was considered self-employed, and he didn't tell me. He kept saying that I wouldn't owe any taxes. I was good. I didn't owe any taxes because I taught part-time at the school. But what something didn't feel right about it, and so I ended up talking to a tax professional, and sure enough, she was like, I will owe, let's say, about $3,000 in taxes, because
Jeez.
yeah, because I wasn't writing anything off, because he was taking all my expenses, so I wasn't writing anything off,
Mm,
and just like I wasn't doing anything. So she told me some things I could do to get right, and by the end of the year, I only paid like $300 in taxes,
that's good.
but I had to changed so much stuff. I had started writing expenses. I got another job. I ended up working with another financial advisor, so I had him take majority of my paycheck to pay the taxes, to just try to make up all the time when I wasn't really paying as much in taxes because I wasn't informed or aware. And I think a lot of times when we go into entrepreneurship, nobody really tells you about the taxes,
Yeah.
and you can pay them quarterly, because he was like, "Oh, you can just pay them at the end of the year, and you'll have a small fee or something, but don't worry about it. It's not going to be that big." And someone just told me, I guess it was the voice of God, told me, you need to go talk to somebody like now, because I kept hearing it. So I went and talked to somebody in August, and from August to the end of the year, pretty much started turning my tax situation around. So it
Yeah.
worked out for me, but it was very stressful. At the time, I was working like 4 jobs by the end of the year to try to get.
Jeez. got the hustle spirit. But I think like for the music industry is different because we have so many examples of taxes coming back to bite people. So, you know, you know, if you're smart enough, you learn from people's mistakes. You know, you learn from people's wisdom and you learn from people's mistakes. So I am one of those people that observe and learn from every mistake that I see people making. It's like, okay, that's a pitfall. I don't want to go down.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about none of that. And yeah, but it's cool. It worked out. And then I just felt like it's all a learning thing. So I worked out. I only paid $300 that year. And then afterwards, I knew how to go about doing things. And, you know, I ended up working for another company where I was considered an employee. So they took the taxes out.
Yeah.
But then even just with the whole small business entrepreneurial thing, I was a sole proprietor for a little while and figuring that whole thing out. That's the same taxes as mine, so it wasn't a big deal. But it just gave me some things I can write off. And yeah, so we'll see. I just did an LLC, so hopefully I will get into a few things.
Come on, LLC buddy. Come on, boom.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You leave me hanging. Jeez.
I'm trying. But that's gonna be towards like some real estate investing, hopefully, that I plan to do. Hopefully, like next year, maybe 2022.
No,
but this year. Thanks.
So this is one thing I had to learn in 2020. Removing hopefully and probably and maybe from my vocabulary, and it's like I am going to, you know, like it's that power of manifesting, or you know, in our Christian walk, it's, you know, speaking those things as though they were. So, you know, that is a real key, and I feel like we should utilize that more. So, and then you have a good circle that'll push you to do those things.
Yes, I do. You're right. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna shoot for 2022. So we'll see. This year, I just moved back home to Charlotte, so I'm really getting readjusted to everything here and starting a new job. So we'll see how that all goes, and then maybe 2022, I'll look into the real estate investing. Once I see how this year ends. But with that being said, what are you looking forward to for 2021 this year? What are you looking forward to this year?
Well, I think the prayers of every service industry person and job and gig worker is that things start to open back up. So keeping an eye on the politics side of things, we're seeing like the COVID passport, you know, come up in talks. To where it'll basically, it's an app on your phone that keeps track of your vaccinations or your COVID test, and that'll be how you get into music venues. That'll be how you get into the airport, you know, things like that. So that that might be forced upon everybody, and that'll give us some leeway to open back up and get back to performing to live crowds. Because that's what I'm sorry.
That's what you're looking forward to. So with this whole 2020 and Zoom and everything like that, what you do in production, did that really like amplify for you and you really take off for you? Were you able to get into that?
I was, and still am. Like even for January 21st, I don't know when this is going to air, but I'll be doing a live stream that I'll be playing and singing on, but also doing the production side of things for. So that. And then doing it for other people, like I was working with Mariano's to do their shows. So it works out really, really well.
Okay. All right. I was just looking at a revival service yesterday or the day before, and they had the choir director look like she was in the church on the stage, and then her choir was all on the Zoom screen, like all the pictures or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that live when they do that, or do they pre-record the singing part and she just get up there and act like she doing something?
That was pre-recorded because there's no way to sync everybody on Zoom like that. So that was pre-recorded and she was doing some acting.
Okay. You think because she does do a lot of extra stuff. Now, she's known for this even when we in person. She's known for like doing a whole little spin dance, everything. So you think that was pre-recorded probably, and then she was just up there.
No, it was definitely pre-recorded.
Okay. I just feel like everybody with this whole 2020 learned a new skill, and they just, grew so much. All this technology and Zoom and having it on the big screen and all that is just so much.
Well, it forced a lot of people in like different industries that were not so reliable on technology to get caught up to technology. Mm-hmm. For instance, like churches are always a little bit behind on technology because money and the mentality of people. But now like this COVID has basically accelerated people's one is accelerated technology in a way that like now everything has grown leaps and bounds, and it forced everybody to have to catch up and get on track. So you can't even get left behind now. You can't, like, you have no room for like falling behind. You have to stay on track with technology.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And it's good that some churches are able to, jump on board and, stay abreast with everything that's going on. So,
Yes.
yeah.
But not all. You have the smaller churches that, they risked it all and was still going to church, in the midst of it. But like, we learn from people's mistakes. And it's like, okay, this is what we have to do. We have to get on board with technology, even if it's just getting an iPhone in front of you. It caused a lot of people to upgrade their phones.
Yeah, I upgraded my phone this year, or last year, I would say. Thanks.
You definitely needed it.
Thanks. So before we go, I'm going to do some rapid fire questions with you. First thing that comes to mind, I just wanted to answer really quick. Some of them are fun. Some of them are serious. There's only a few questions. I'm going to ask you that, and then I will allow you to share.
Yeah. I'm going to warn you now, I'm hungry, so it may be a lot of food-based questions.
Okay. All right. So here's my rapid fire question. So if you were a movie, what genre would your life be?
Comedy.
Okay. One piece of advice that you received that you think everyone should know or we should completely disregard?
One thing I feel like everybody should know, one piece of advice, it's just money. As it'll come as quick as it goes.
Money will come as quick as it goes.
Yep. So like that's what encourages me to kind of give to people, is because I know it'll come back.
Okay. All right. Good. How would you describe success?
I was gonna say comfort, because like I feel like if you don't have to worry about anything, like if you have peace of mind, then you're successful.
So peace of mind and comfort. Okay. And then my last question, describe yourself in 3 words or less.
Hungry, hungry, and hungry. No, I'm joking. Ambitious. Versatile. That's the word I'm looking for. And then, I don't know, like chill.
Ambitious, versatile, and chill. Those are your 3 words.
Those are my 3 words.
Well, thank you for joining me today, Alfonso. Tell me, how can people get in contact with you?
Awesome. They can find me on Facebook at Alfonzo Jones. They can find me on Instagram at Alfonso Jones _music. They can find me on Twitter, that I'm trying to get rid of, but for some reason I can't, at Fonzie _Jones. And then my website that is currently being developed right now is fonzieproductions.com. And then that's pretty much it.
All right. And just for everybody, I don't think I mentioned this, but Alfonso did the intro music for me for my podcast. So thank you for that, Alfonso. Yay.
You're welcome. I'm so happy you used it. I didn't get fired.
Nah. Well, thank you again for joining me today, Alfonso. I'm going to give you back the rest of your day. And again, everybody, I will have all the links for how you can get in contact with Alfonso in the description below. Thanks.
Thank you.
Wow, the episode with Alfonso was amazing. He shared with us a lot of tips and strategies that we can implement as entrepreneurs. He talked to us about the Truebill app and the Tax Keeper app to ensure we know where our money is going and that we pay our taxes on time. He also told us about the importance of investing in quality equipment so that you can have a top product to provide to your clients. And last but not least, he told us that in 2020, he learned you have to stay abreast with what's going on with the time, and that may mean that you need to update in your technology. We thank our guest, Alfonzo Jones, for joining us today on the Education Over There podcast. Thank you all for tuning in to the podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our services on Spotify and become a monthly supporter. And also check out our website and make a donation to the foundation so that you can help students go to college. I am Sheena Hogue. Remember to live life, love life, and be well.